Hi, we're here talking about the RM auctions. Our background is the Amelia Island Concord. I'm Dave Kinney.
And I'm Donald Osborne, and we've got some wonderful Duesenbergs behind us, don't we, Dave?
Not only that, we're standing next to the Pope's 600 Mercedes. We have just an extraordinary collection of cars here.
Yeah, I hope that he blesses whatever it is that we're going to say.
I'm sure that it will be coming down from on high. Anyhow, let's get right to the auction report. Donald, you got the hard numbers. Do it.
Absolutely. RM had a sensational year this year, up 20% over last year with a total of almost $25 million and a 97% sell-through rate. RM ended 2010 like a house on fire, and they're starting 2011 the same way with solid results in Phoenix and now here in Amelia Island.
It really has turned out to be, 2011 is turning out to be quite a year. Maybe even if this continues, it'll be a monumental year in the auction business. Everyone seems to be doing well with some very rare exceptions. That 97%, again, it's almost an extraordinary number. That means 4 or 5 cars were passed out of the 120 cars they had here?
Well, they had 103 cars, and they passed 4 of them. I mean, absolutely amazing. And the cars they passed also, let's talk about the cars they sold first. One of the extraordinary things that we always look for in auctions are the number of million-dollar cars sold. Last year here at Amelia Island, RM sold 4 cars for more than $1 million. This year they decided to do it the easy way.
They sold 1 car for $4 million. So, it's funny because that's the whole thing about statistics. They sold $4 million worth of 1 car this time, and an extraordinary car it was.
Absolutely. This 1951 Ferrari Mexico, which had a tremendous period race history, came in 3rd in the Carrera Panamericana and also raced in the original Mille Miglia, and a wonderful car with a great feeling. Everyone's talking about the barn find and preservation car. This is neither a barn find nor preservation car, but had a wonderful old feeling, just comfortable, ready to use, been in very long-term ownership, and was just a clearly loved car.
And that's the top of the market now. That's a $4 million Ferrari. I mean, we've got a new class of that sort of car. But everything pretty well fell into place. There were some good buys in brass cars. There were some well bought brass cars, especially towards the end there. They had a collection of cars. So I mean, it was basically from $65,000 to $4 million. Everything was doing quite well.
Absolutely. One of the brass cars, as a matter of fact, that really stood out was the 1912 Packard. I thought that was a wonderful car, and I didn't actually jot down what it sold for, but it was a very, very good deal, beautifully prepared and ready just to take to the next show. Also, sort of strange, cute car mania continued with the Jolly at $75,000, and also on the other side of that coin, we had another early Ferrari, a beautiful Vignale convertible. A 340 Mexico 212 Export convertible that was just absolutely magnificent, and it did a very impressive $1.7 million.
I think one of the big headlines, if we don't get this right off, at the beginning here, $205,000 plus commission. So that's $225,500 for a 1964 Porsche
911. So the key here is sort of like London to Brighton. The year makes all the difference. If your car is not a 1904, you can't run in the London to Brighton. But this is a 1964 911. There were fewer than 50 911s made in 1964, and being able to prove that this car was a 64 production car made all the difference in the world. It was very nicely presented as well.
And spirited bidding. When it hit 200,000, it got the reaction that a lot of cars get when they hit $1 million, because it's a very important milestone in the Porsche marketplace, I would say, for this car. That's going to have a knock-on effect for the 65s and the 66s, don't you think?
Absolutely. There's real interest in the short wheelbase 911s, and by collectors and users, and I think that we're just going to see that market continue to really, really climb.
Other notable cars that you have, Donald, that are something that maybe in the marketplace, not in the $1 million or $960,000 range?
I'm struggling here because there were such extraordinary cars at very big prices that it's hard not to focus on those cars for a bit. But just to focus on a non-sale, we noted yesterday, talking about the Gooding coverage, that they failed to sell a very nice early 289 Cobra. And interestingly enough, the same thing happened at RM. One of the few cars that they passed was a nice 65 289 Cobra, a bit battle-scarred, but really nicely presented, that the bidding stopped at $425,000. What do you think that's about, Dave?
Well, interestingly, last weekend in Fort Lauderdale, a Cobra, a barn find style Cobra, sold for in the mid 400s. So I wouldn't say it's marketplace weakness, but I will say that that car that sold last weekend had a good history and was a true, preservation class car. Whereas both of these cars were kind of in the middle. I'm not saying anything bad about either car. They're nice cars, but maybe it takes a little extra extraordinary stuff. Maybe it takes a little extra juice to get the 289s going in the marketplace right now. But I'm kind of surprised by that, and I wouldn't say it's a sign of any kind of weakness. I would just say that we had two kind of cars that weren't chased after as much as possibly their owners thought they were going to be.
Right, and we also have to understand that there's something called I can't remember what it's called, but when the market is saturated.
Yeah, like a blockage.
Blockage, thank you. It could have been that everyone who wanted.
That's all right, Donald. I'll come up with the big words.
Thank you very much. I count on you for that, Dave. It just could have been that the people who needed a 289 Cobra right now all had them.
Yeah, it's possible. Although I think that we're going to have to spend some real time analyzing this. I think so. On that score, I'm going to go with right now. There were just not enough people in the room that are interested in buying a Cobra for over $400,000, and that's what it's pretty much going to take anymore. One car I was very surprised by, a 365 Berlinetta Boxer, at the end of the sale yesterday, $200,000 on the hammer. I mean, that's extraordinary money.
Indeed. Everyone's been saying that the Berlinetta Boxer is a comer with Daytona prices where they've been, and this sort of had been slightly ignored as a car, first of all, that was not widely disseminated in the United States because it was not officially imported, and also because the cars were sort of thought of as big and sort of slightly unwieldy and not the sort of user-friendly modern Ferrari that you might want, with some servicing issues as well. But this also proved the fact at the end of the auction, when the room was starting to empty out, that there was still enough enthusiasm to really push it to a very impressive price.
And let's talk about that. Gooding Auction House, it emptied out, and I think people were going to other events. I wonder if that's a timing issue. Do you think it's because the RM auction was kind of the focus of the day for a lot of people, and the next thing in line was dinner, whereas the Gooding auction, it did take a long time for them to sell cars, and people were going out because there were other events going on, parties starting, that sort of thing. Do you think that might have had something to do with it?
Absolutely. In addition to which, in speaking to some of the auctioneers, we are discovering that they are now aware that after the sort of 80 lot auctions, you begin to press on the attention of your audience.
Yeah.
That, combined with the fact that the Gooding sale did go through dinner time, receptions. There's a lot of events going on down here at Amelia Island, so there's lots of competition for the time and attention of the bidding audience. It's very, very, very important thing for the auction houses to think about: the length of their sales, the scheduling of their sales. It makes a big difference for both buyers and sellers.
All that being said, it's not like all the buyers disappeared or anything like that. So, possibly just the people who are interested were staying interested in buying a particular car, and the kind of the crowd, the hangers-on and all that, left. And maybe that's a good thing for some people. The auctioneers always count on the audience to be part of the scene. And so the bigger the audience, or the theory is, the bigger the audience, the more you're going to have the crowd rooting for you, all that sort of stuff. So,
but the reality, of course, is the fact that you only need two people to make an auction.
Is the auctioneer an A bidder?
Okay, fine, make it three. What the heck? Speaking of which, although Max Gerardo did his duties alone as opposed to David Gooding working with Charlie Ross, he clearly is also someone who relishes the adventure and the action, the theater part of the auctioneering, and he worked very hard and put a lot of humor into the afternoon, into the evening, and worked very well also with his compatriots on the telephones. and that was a great deal of auction theater, I think.
You know, you're right, and the interesting thing is like unlike many of the auctioneers, Max is 3 years into auction calling. I mean, he's a relative newcomer and has done a great job, and really, a lot of the people like his patter and his kind of interaction with the audience. And I would say of all the auctioneers, he's the most interactive.
Absolutely, he practically dances on the podium. It's quite amazing to see.
Yeah, that's fun stuff. Anything else? Anything else that struck you? I mean, I think that we both are in agreement on this. Unusually, we're both in agreement on this that 2011 is shaping up to be what could be another extraordinary year. But we're seeing these cars that are sold to end buyers. These aren't guys with briefcases, who are just going out and finding another guy to find another guy to find another guy. Last time we had that, things didn't end all that happy. People are buying these cars because they're looking for collectibles. We also have, we have to face it, the demographic here for a lot of these guys is that they're at the point in their life where they want to buy something extraordinary to keep, something to have and to hold. Your thoughts?
I agree with you completely, Dave. And the fact that in all parts of the market, we're seeing that. People are buying the cars that fit their needs, whether they're cars that need a little help or cars that are perfectly done, ready for concours or ready for vintage rallies or tours. They're buying the cars they want and they're paying the money. The dealers are selling cars well at auction, but they're not buying the cars at auction these days.
We saw earlier on some exchanges. We saw some people actually in January. There was an extraordinary number of people who cleared out their showroom, took it to the auction, and then bought another new group of cars, which I think is a very healthy sign. I mean, they reinvested in the marketplace. But you're right, there's a lot of people, a lot of dealers who are seeing more auction and more action at the auctions. Try saying that a few times. And so they're bringing a lot of the cars here. But some of them, we've got some of the Corvette buyers who are only buying at auctions right now. So there's a little bit of mix of that as well.
Absolutely. I think we're going to see, as to be total prognosticators here, I think we're going to see as the market continues, as the market continues, it's going to mimic the real estate market in some ways around most of the country, where there's a lot of action now at all levels of the market, where people are starting to build houses again. You're seeing cars sell for record prices. You're seeing lots of cars in the middle market sell where they should, and very few things get left out.
And remember, you can always sleep in a car, but you can't drive a house.
Absolutely.
Words of wisdom from Dave Kinney. Hey, I'm Dave Kinney. We're at Amelia Island. We're going to wrap up right now. Donald?
Dave, I'm looking forward to the rest of 2011. It's going to be a very exciting auction and concours season.
And for Donald Osborne, I'm Dave Kinney. And for Haggerty, we'll see you again soon.